Now, it's no secret that what Josh Allen did last weekend propelled him into superstardom. It was one of the best performances we've ever seen from a quarterback in one of the best NFL games we've ever seen. The Bills haven't been this close to a Super Bowl since the 90s, and obviously Mr. Allen is a big reason why. So today, I want to see if he can do what he's done for the Bills for every other NFL franchise. We begin with the Bears. I'm filming this before the divisional round ratings are dropped. They usually happen every Thursday. So he's still only an 88. I'm just going to assume he's going to be like a 90. If he's not, we riot. I mean, just look at these stats. 99 throw power. Deep accuracy, only 86.
That's stupid. Use your common sense.
Speed 89, like he's not only one of the best passing quarterbacks, he's also one of the best rushing quarterbacks. It's scary. But yeah, in Chicago, he actually has some solid pieces to work with. I don't know how many of them are going to be back. I know Robinson's a free agent, but Mooney's a very solid piece. Jimmy Graham, ʻAu'Aleo veteran. Decent offensive line. Chicago's always had a really good defense as far back as I can remember, so all they really needed was a quarterback. I think this is an easy playoff berth. Josh is 1 for 1. They go 10-7. They get obliterated in the wild card round, but at least they made it to the dance. He doesn't do too hot in his lone playoff game. 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 4 sacks. But his stats on the season were pretty good. 36-13 touchdown interception ratio, 4.44 yards passing, and he led the offense to top 12 in the league. Next up, we have the Bengals, who are currently in the AFC Championship game, led by Joe Shiesty, man. You already know it's the playoff team. So if Allen doesn't take them to the playoffs, I will be very shocked. They have so much talent. Somehow he wasn't able to take the Bengals to the playoffs. Offense was still top 10 in the league. Allen didn't have the most passing yards. Less than 4,000 is just not like him. Less than 30 touchdowns. Mixon almost had 2,000 yards rushing though, so maybe that's why. The Broncos are up next, and I really don't see Allen missing out on the playoffs on back-to-back teams, not with a very solid receiving core, very solid running back core, very fast tight ends. I think it has a lot to do with scheme fit. On the last team, the scheme fit was in like the 70s or something. That was the highest. Luckily, this is an 88%. That's the highest. So I think this should be a playoff appearance at least. 10-7 in the playoff berth. That's how you bounce back. But once again, he can't get past the wild card round. It's all good. This time it was a lot closer. And he played a little bit better, I would say. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He got the offense to a top 14 ranking. And he threw for over 4,000 yards again. Over 30 touchdowns again. But a lot of interceptions. And he got Tim Patrick to 1,000 yards receiving. Now it's time to see if he can do what Baker was unable to do this season. And that's take the Browns to the playoffs. Probably the best running back duo in the league. And then you have a quarterback who can also run the ball. You have Juice as your number 1. So they are lacking with Odell leaving, you know, to the Rams, but they have one of the best O-lines in the league. This should be an easy playoffs, maybe even Super Bowl. So I got some good news and some weird news. The good news is they went 11-6, second best record in the AFC. The weird news is the team that Allen was unable to take to the playoffs, the Bengals, made it to the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, Josh Allen had another wild card loss, but the name of the video is, can he take them to the playoffs, not to the Super Bowl, man. And so far he's only missed out on doing that on 1 team, so he's doing pretty well. The offense finishes 6th in the NFL, the highest we've seen so far. Allen didn't throw for that many yards, but he had a very good touchdown interception ratio. 2,000 yard season for Nick Chubb, almost 1,000 yards for Hunt and Allen combined. That rushing attack was nasty. Chubb wasn't even in the top 10 for MVP during a 2,000 yard season, man. I've never seen anything like that.
That is blasphemous.
What will also be blasphemous is if he cannot take the Bucs not only to the playoffs, but to his first playoff win in this video. We already know what their team looks like. I got rid of AB to make it more realistic, but yeah, he still has so much talent to work with. They go 7-10, don't even make the playoffs. Can we just say that it was not the offense's fault? Look at the defense. They finished top 15, top half of the league. Allen did his thing, had the 3rd most passing yards in the league, almost 5,000. He did throw a good amount of interceptions and less than 30 touchdowns, but the run game didn't help him out that much. This game is so ass backwards. Like the teams you think Allen would do amazing on, he does terrible. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Cards somehow do not even make the playoffs. They barely squeak in, 10-7 and the 7th seed in the NFC. But Allen wins not one but two playoff games before losing to the Panthers in the NFC Championship. 269 and a touchdown in a wild card. 264, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks in the divisional round against Rodgers. And then he threw 1 pick and 1 interception against Cam Newton and the Panthers. Oh yeah, and guess who's back in the Super Bowl? 20th is the lowest we've seen his offense finish in the video so far. He gets over 4,000 yards, however, 24 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Pretty modest season for Mr. Allen. No 1,000-yard rusher. So their offense could have been a little bit better, but Allen, I think that's the most rushing yards we've seen from him. 6 rushing touchdowns. And we have not seen this man in the MVP conversation yet in this video. I'm very, very surprised. Now Allen takes over for Herbert in Los Angeles. Has a phenomenal wide receiver core. Great running back in Eckler. Solid offensive line. Defense has multiple X factors, so you know they're going to do their job. This is the team I could see him going to the Super Bowl with as long as there's a good scheme fit, and there's not. So yeah, they might struggle to make the playoffs, but look at that defense. Jesus. There you go, man. Back-to-back playoff berths. He goes 10-7 on the Chargers. Offense finishes top 10 in the league. Probably his best statistical performance in the video so far. Eckler had over 1,000 yards, so both facets of the offense were firing on all cylinders. 2,000-yard receivers, and he finally gets some MVP consideration. He finishes second behind Lamar, but he ends up losing to the Patriots in a wild card round for the 3rd time in the video. It wasn't a bad game by him. 1 touchdown, no picks, but we've seen him do way better. Can he make it 3 in a row on the Chiefs? If he doesn't, the video might just have to end because I can't envision that happening. 12-5, 3rd seed in the AFC. Offense finishes top 11. Allen has 4,600 yards, those for less than 10 picks and over 35 touchdowns. Joe Burr ends up making the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, Josh Allen loses to him in the divisional round after beating Lamar in the wild card round, where he had a damn near perfect game. And he was 1 point away from beating Burrow. But at least Allen ends up top 10 in MVP voting. The Colts now have one of the best quarterbacks and one of the best running backs. How is Taylor only star development? EA, we need to sit down and have a talk. That man might be the best running back in the league and somehow he starred. That's ridiculous. But the scheme fit is pretty low. The highest is a 74. He might end up struggling to take this team to the playoffs, even though they have just so much talent at quarterback and running back. The Colts barely make it. 9-8. They squeak into the playoffs. They have the 22nd ranked offense. Allen didn't do so hot in Indy. I don't know why. Taylor, that's probably why. Almost 100 yards per game. They end up losing to Joe Burr in the wild card round. 42-28, high scoring affair. Burrow has 5 touchdowns. Allen ends up with 3. Do we do this for Burrow next, man? Let me know. You know, drop a like. This gets a lot of likes. We'll make it happen. 3 X factors on the offense in Dallas. In Madden, they always go deep. I will be extremely shocked. With an offensive line this good as well, I mean, there's just no way they don't make the playoffs. They end up going 11-6 and winning their division. They finished top 7 in the league on offense. Allen has a pretty good season by his standards. We've seen better. Zeke ends up top 6 in MVP voting, so you know he had a nasty season. 1,600 yards, 20 touchdowns, and we're still waiting on him to take one of these teams to the Super Bowl so we can get some gameplay, but they end up losing in the wild card round. 30-28 against their division rivals. Look at Jalen Hurts, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Allen with no touchdowns, no picks. Their offense was struggling in the passing game. Zeke did his thing though. Allen has a chance to make it 6 yeses in a row. He's on the division rival Miami Dolphins with a very solid wide receiver core. Devontae, Waddle, Gesicki. O-line has improved in the last couple years. The running back core, not the best to be honest, but their defense is above average, so they're going to do their job. It's up to Allen to elevate this offense, and I think he could do it. Yeah, I was a little ambitious thinking he could take the Dolphins to the playoffs. I mean, their running game was just not good enough, man. They end up finishing last in the league, 5-12. They end up finishing last in offense as well. That's because their starting running back finished 33rd in rushing yards. There's only 32 teams. So there's only so much Josh Allen could have done, man. This is a solid season by his standards. Oh, completion percentage was terrible. So let me take it back. That's probably his worst season so far, but he didn't have much help, man. There was nothing in the running game. The Dolphins need a running back bad. They have solid wide receivers though. Solid pass catchers. Waddle is a star in the making. So now Allen goes from having one of the worst running back cores in the league to now one of the worst wide receiver cores. And I'm an Eagles fan saying that, man. Smitty is a star in the making, but Quez very raw number 2. Goddard is a very good tight end, so maybe I'm overreacting just a little bit. And their offensive line is really good, so I think this should be a breeze to walk into the playoffs. But once again, horrendous scheme fits. The highest is a 72, so I take it back. They might end up struggling. Back-to-back no's for the first time in a video. Eagles go 6-11. Not too surprising, their offense was 26th. Allen had one of his worst touchdown interception ratios so far. Run game was underwhelming to say the least. Quez actually led the team in receiving. Allen gets to play with Patterson, Ridley, and Pitts now on the Falcons, who actually have a pretty decent O-line. But as we've seen recently, it depends a lot on scheme fit. So 84%, pretty good. I could see them squeaking into the wild card round. They end up 7-10, only a couple games away from the playoffs. Offense finishes bottom half of the league though. That's surprising considering how well he did. 31 touchdowns, only 8 picks. Running game could have been a little bit better. Josh did his thing, 7th in MVP voting. Not really much else he could have done. We're going back to the NFC East. Josh Allen has gotten 3 no's in a row. I think he can help this team win the division. Very good O-line. Gibson's a young stud at running back. Along with McKissick can catch the ball at the backfield. Scary Terry, X-Factor wide receiver. Logan Thomas, very solid defense. With all these superstars on the D-line, they should have a chance to make it. They missed the playoffs by 1 game. Offense at least finishes top half of the league. I thought he would do a little bit better with Terry to throw to, and Gibson getting over 1,000 yards on the ground. Not to mention Samuel in the supporting role was pretty good. Slot guys always do really well. Look at Humphreys. So that's 4 no's for Allen in a row. He needs to bounce back, and I think that's exactly what he's gonna do in San Fran. He gets to throw to Kittle and Debo. Not to mention Mostert, Elijah Mitchell, Juszczyk. O-line is nasty. They have the best left tackle in the league. Defense is phenomenal. This is a guaranteed playoff berth. Matter of fact, I'm going as far as to say they're making it to the Super Bowl. 92% scheme fit is nasty. So it only makes sense that they end up finishing last in their division and go 7-10. You just can't make it up. They go 24th on offense. Allen actually has a good touchdown interception ratio, doesn't throw for that many yards. Mostert gets 1,000 yards rushing, 13 touchdowns for Elijah. I don't know what else they could have done. This game just makes no sense. They make the playoffs in real life, then they upgrade their quarterback, and they don't. Like, what? This should be the 6th no in a row for Allen, which means he'll probably end up winning the Super Bowl somehow. Saquon has regressed from X Factor to star. Kenny G was not the number 1 he was hyped up to be. O-line has no guys at an 80 overall. So it doesn't make sense to see them go to the playoffs, but it's Madden, so he'll probably end up finding a way. Another last place in the division finish for Mr. Allen, 6 no's in a row. Damn near last in offense. That man is struggling on the NFC teams, specifically the NFC East. His running back got in the top 10 MVP voting, so this might be his worst season so far, all things considered. Now he's back in the AFC, so good things are on the horizon, man. He's in Jacksonville with a solid receiving core. Jones, Chark, Chenault, Robinson, and Etienne at running back. O-line has improved in the last few years. Defense, they have some studs. They could win their division. 7 straight teams he missed the playoffs on. They go 4-13, second to last in the league. Offense was bottom 4 in the league. But I gotta be fair to him again. Of these last 7 teams, maybe 1 or 2 went to the playoffs with like Mahomes and Brady when we did this in the past. So I'm not too surprised that he wasn't able to take them there. Could it be 8 in a row on the Jets? Most likely, yes. Let's just be honest. I mean, they have 1 guy above an 80 on the O-line. Defense has no guys with abilities. It's going to be very tough. They end up closer than I thought. Only 1 game out of the playoffs. Offense was 25th in the league. Allen doesn't do too shabby. I say it's an average season for him. They had a 1,000-yard rusher, but he only averaged 3.4 yards per carry. So that's 8 no's in a row. Can he bounce back in Detroit? A team whose receiving core might be even worse than my Eagles. I do like Amon-Ra. I like Hawkinson. Swift is a solid young running back. But if I was a betting man, I would say this is the 9th no in a row. No surprises here. They go 6-11, second to last in the NFC. Offense is a respectable 22nd. Allen throws for 4,500 yards, almost 40 touchdowns, and less than 10 picks. He had a very good season. Rushing game wasn't that bad. Swift almost had 1,000 yards. 3,000-yard receivers. Talk about doing a lot with a little, man. He ends up 7th in MVP voting. It's a nice bounce back season. All that's nice and dandy, but it's time to get back to the postseason, okay? He gets to play with the best receiver in the league, one of the best running backs, a phenomenal line. If he can't take the Packs to the playoffs, I don't know what to say. They finished 6th in the NFC, 10-7. Offense is 2nd in the league. Allen finishes with the most passing touchdowns in the league, over 4,500 passing yards, less than 10 picks. They're just firing on all cylinders. That's to be expected, man. The Packers have so much talent. 3,000-yard receivers. He gets 2nd in MVP voting. We're still waiting on him to win it. But they get to the divisional round after beating the Vikings. 35-21 in the wildcard round. He had a really good game. But they came up 7 points short against his famous Jameis. He had 2 touchdowns, no picks. So one of his better seasons, no question. Let's make it back-to-back for Mr. Allen. He's now in Carolina, playing alongside one of the best running backs in CMC. Really good wide receiver core. O-line might hold them back a little bit, but we've seen the Panthers go deep in the playoffs. They finished with the best record in the league, 14-3. 7th best offense in the league. Allen has a pretty good season, 32-10 touchdown interception ratio. McCaffrey was otherworldly as usual. Chuba with 12 touchdowns on the ground. They had a 1,000-yard receiver. And McCaffrey ends up 2nd in MVP voting. But they lose in the divisional round to the Bucks. Hey man, I'm just glad he went back-to-back in terms of making the playoffs. Didn't have the best performance when he got there, but him and McCaffrey were a nasty regular season duo. Can Allen make it 3 in a row on his division rival Patriots? You get to pair him with Bill Belichick's alter ego. They finished 3rd in the AFC, go 11-6. Offense finishes 8th in the league. Allen has a really good season. Wouldn't be surprised to see him in MVP consideration. They had a 1,000-yard rusher. Stevenson ended up with 14 rushing touchdowns. And there he is, top 5 in MVP voting. They end up winning their wild card game 28-17 against the Titans. Allen plays pretty well, but then they lost to the Jaguars in the divisional round, 31-14. Lawrence was just slightly better. Can he make it 4 in a row on the Raiders? He plays with Darren Waller, Jacobs, Renfro, solid O-line. Defense ain't half bad, man. They have some young guys, some underrated guys, but they're in a very tough division. So I wouldn't be shocked if he plays amazing and they barely miss out on the playoffs. Tell me I didn't call that, man. They go 9-8, barely missed the playoffs. The offense was 6th in the league. Allen had a really good season, did throw a little bit too many interceptions, but look at that yardage. Jacobs almost had 1,500 yards rushing. Allen had 6 rushing touchdowns, but he did not end up in top 10 for MVP voting. Still a really good season. No question in my mind, he's going to bounce back on the Rams. He gets to play one of the best receivers in the league, Cooper Kupp. He has Odell, Robert Woods, Higbee, one of the best offensive minds in football, Sean McVay. Defense is stacked. Yeah, there's no question they make it. And the Rams went 7-10. Offense was 24th. How does that even happen? I just don't understand this game sometimes. 23 touchdowns, less than 4,000 yards. Akers had 1,200 yards. At least the run game was doing good. Cooper Kupp with a very modest 4 touchdowns. I really want to end the video here, but we just got to finish out the rest of the teams. This is pissing me off. Now he's in Baltimore playing with Mandrews, Hollywood Brown, Ronnie Stanley on the O-line. Defense is above average. I hope they can make it, but at this point, I don't even know. There you go, man. Wild card berth on the Ravens, 10-7. They finished 14th on offense. He doesn't throw for that many passing yards, but that ratio. And he went off in the run game, 837 and 8 touchdowns. That's what you do on the Ravens offense as the quarterback. He finally wins MVP. Let's go. Anything he did in the playoffs was just icing on the cake. They got to the AFC Championship game where they lost to the Browns. He could have did a little bit better, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, but he beat Mahomes and the Chiefs in the divisional round. And that was after beating his old team in Lamar in the wild card round while throwing 3 touchdowns and no picks. Come on now. If he can't get it done in New Orleans, I don't know what to tell you. He's playing with Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Armstead, Ramczyk, not to mention the defense. But we've seen a roster this stacked before, the Rams, and he didn't make it with them. So anything is possible. I try to tell you, whatever you think will happen, just expect the opposite. They go 6-11. Sixth on offense, I guess, wasn't good enough. Ooh, he did throw a lot of interceptions. I think that's the most we've seen from him. Kamara went bonkers though. 1,400 yards, 16 touchdowns. Yeah, this one might be on Allen. Technically, if you go by overalls, this is a downgrade at quarterback, but I think Allen had a way better season than Russ, and in the new update, he might have a higher rating. So I think it's a slight upgrade, and he gets a great wide receiver core to work with. So we gonna see what happens. Another disappointment, 7-10. They missed the playoffs. They end up 14th on offense. Allen actually throws for a lot of yards and touchdowns and not that many interceptions. I think it's a really good season for him. Carson actually did really well too. So did the backup. Penny had 10 touchdowns, so I don't know what went wrong. Lockett over 1,000 yards. DK and Eskridge both had over 900. I'm just gonna guess it was the defense that held them back, and they played in a very tough division, so that probably had something to do with it. That Steelers defense with Allen at quarterback, throwing to Deontay, Claypool, Juju, Najee in the backfield. Solid duo of tight ends. Everything looks great on paper, which means they're going to end up 5-12, not even close to the playoffs. Watch. Hey, at this point, if y'all want the lottery numbers, you know, just hit subscribe and I got you. They went 5-12, like I said. Offense was really bad, 29th in the league. It is easily Allen's worst statistical season so far. Only 18 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, and he didn't do that great on the ground. Josh Allen has yet to take a team to the Super Bowl, so why not on the Texans? A team with only 2 guys that are star on offense and 2 guys that are star on defense. Since this game makes no sense, they're going all the way. Finally, the game makes some sense. They go 6-11. Offense was 20th in the league. Allen was top 10 in pass yards, threw for 30 touchdowns and less than 10 picks. Pretty solid season. When Allen played with McCaffrey, they went 14-3. So I fully expect them to do something similar when he's playing with Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, Julio. At least I hope they do. They end up 3rd in the AFC at 11-6. You love to see it. They end up 13th on offense. He only throws for 3,500 yards and 21 touchdowns. Not his best season at all. But Henry almost had 2,000 yards, so that was a big reason why. They lose in the wild card round to the Ravens. 21-24. Allen does pretty decent, but we're still waiting on him to win a Super Bowl, and there's only one team left. Last but not least, Josh Allen in Minnesota playing with one of the best running backs. Jay Jettas, Adam Thielen. Their offense is going to be amazing. Or at least it should be on paper, which means they'll end up 4-13 and not even close to the playoffs. Unfortunately, he ends with a no. They go 7-10. Offense was 20th somehow. So if this doesn't prove the game's broken, then I don't know what will, man. You had an elite quarterback, elite running back, elite wide receivers, and somehow it did not matter. So the final tally for Mr. Allen, he ends up with 18 no's and 14 yeses. He missed the playoffs more than he made it somehow. I think he's way better than that. You know, the game just hasn't caught up to it yet. He should be like a 92, 93 at the very least, in my opinion. And he's only an 88. So I see why he didn't do as good as I thought he would. Still, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And please be sure to like button. Let me know the next quarterback you want me to do this with, and I'll see you on the next one.
Nobody's safe. Came from Evan, we fresh out the gate. And I look like I came from LA. From New Jersey, I look like LA. I'm a water, I'm from in LA. I'ma get it, it's mine for the tape. Ride the beamer when I'm out of state. Could have beat, almost got me a case. Go Olympic, I'm winning the race. 911 cause I'm killing the game. Talking crazy, I'm going insane. Shifting gears and I'm switching the lane. Hop on stage, just go entertain. Going up, so I'm making a name.